Welcome to this edition of Supervisors Report with Nate Miley. I'm your host, Dr. Marshall Kamina. Welcome, Supervisor Miley.
Thank you.
I'm sure
Nice
glad
to
to
be
see
here.
you. Boy, what topics or announcements would you like to share with our viewers today?
Well, there's quite a bit going on, quite a bit. It's just good that, the presidency has been turned over to Supervisor Halbert, and that's a good thing. Yeah, because he has the responsibilities of trying to manage the Board of Supervisors and setting our agenda and dealing with all the matters that the board has to consider addressing. So taking that weight off my shoulders has been something I've definitely appreciated after 2 years, because there's so much coming at us, and to manage the board agenda is just another stressful situation.
Now that you've filled your outstanding terms as president of the Alameda County Board of Supervisors, what are a few things that you can return to that you missed?
Wow. What can I read? Well, maybe I can do a little bit more taking time to vacation or travel. That might be a possibility. I've tried to do some of that already this year. I was out of town in New Orleans for a few days and back on the East Coast and in Chicago. The thing is, though, when I leave town, I still end up working, because you can do work virtually. You can be in meetings virtually. So, but I think having a little bit more time to vacation, leave town, I appreciate that. And maybe also having a little bit more time to get back to talking with constituents and being in the community. There's a little bit more time to do that as well. A little bit more spare time. But, it's really not much that I haven't been able to squeeze in, because you just try to manage it all, and it seems to be working.
Well, I talked recently to President Halbert, and he said, boy, you ought to see Nate. He's looked like 10 years younger now.
Yes. Yes. David's got those stresses. He's got those stresses of the presidency.
Well, from your perspective, is the Coliseum close to being settled? Or are there financial characters in place? Is the issue of who the athletic groups of players are also settled?
Well, yes, I think we've been meeting quite a bit on the Coliseum deal. The Board of Supervisors just authorized David, Halbert, and myself to listen into the negotiating sessions to try to get a more perspective on what's being said or not said in the negotiations, and trying to understanding of where the OAC is coming from, so that we can then give feedback to the board and hopefully provide more guidance to our negotiators so we can get this deal wrapped up. I do believe that there is strong support from the Board of Supervisors to see an assignment of the A's, the Coliseum partners, Coliseum Way partners, which is the Oakland A's, see that assignment go to the Oakland Acquisition Corporation or company, so they in turn will have full and complete control of the Coliseum site, because they bought the city's half interest as well. So I do believe we're making progress. We're getting close. We're down to a few issues that need to be resolved. And I know our negotiators will be meeting tomorrow with OAC, and hopefully next week the board will be able to say we have come to terms, and then direct the county staff to bring the terms of this deal forward to a Board of Supervisors meeting in the next few weeks. I'd say probably hopefully by early to mid-April, so we can publicly vote the deal up. And I'm confident that's what we'll be doing.
Well, do you have the feeling now, after all of this, that they've been attentive to most of the important issues and getting close?
Yes, yes. There's been a lot of progress, a lot of movement on the side of the Oakland acquisition company, but they also have to deal with Coliseum Way Partners because, Coliseum Way Partners, they purchased this county's half interest, but in order for Coliseum Way Partners to assign their interest in the Coliseum to the Oakland Acquisition Corporation, the county has to approve that assignment. And Coliseum Way Partners has been asking for some terms that have been very favorable to them in the effort at trying to move this assignment forward. So that's kind of been some of the challenges. But, once again, you're dealing with Coliseum Way Partners, you're dealing with the county, you're dealing with the Oakland Acquisition Company, you're dealing with the city, and you're dealing with the Joint Powers Authority for the Coliseum and the arena. So really, there's all these entities that are a part of trying to make this a deal come to finality.
Well, it's been an exciting journey, hasn't it?
Yes, and I'm
Well,
very, very
we're going to
hopeful
take
that we'll soon be out of the sports business as a county, so we don't have to direct any time and attention to these matters, because it has taken up quite a bit of time and attention on the part of our staff, our negotiators, our county council, and the board, and obviously county administrator's office.
Well, my bet is even when that's over, your plate's still going to be plenty full and always busy as usual. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back on this edition of Supervisors Report with Nate Miley in just a moment. Welcome back to this edition of Supervisors Report with Nate Miley. On the subject of foster parents, are you a supporter of foster parents?
Most certainly. I think foster parents are very, very important because young people, children, need to have positive adults in their lives. Without my family, I often say, without my family, my parents, my teachers, and the church, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So I'm very, very thankful for them. And so foster parents have that parental role and provide the guidance and the nurturing, the support, the discipline for young people, for children to be raised, to become productive and contributing members of our society.
How do you feel about ADUs and the state's position? What plus or minuses do they have for the county?
Well, ADUs, accessory dwelling units, I think it's an important ingredient to providing more housing in our community. Clearly, we need to have more affordable housing, and ADUs is a step in that direction. And if someone has like a garage they want to convert, or a backyard, a piece of property that they want to convert, or they want to build an ADU on that property, an accessory dwelling unit, I think that's a good thing. I think the one thing we need to constantly be cognizant of is the traffic that may be produced and the parking that may be produced as a result of additional ADUs, if there are so many that are clustered in communities, because that could produce an additional kind of burden on the community. But in the big picture, I think accessory dwelling units, ADUs, is an important ingredient to helping us to relieve some of the lack of affordable housing in the state of California.
Well, the state has a measure with regard to this particularly, and there's some decision making that has to be made there, I think, with regard to county taxes and infrastructure or something like that.
Yeah, I think whatever the state can do to allow for the and facilitate for the
Got it.
permitting of ADUs, I think that's very worthwhile and serves the public interest.
Got
I
it.
just think we need to also make sure that in the context of doing that, we don't cluster so many in communities that it has other unintended consequences for the quality of life in communities.
Thank you. COVID really had an impact on BART. How are BART ridership numbers and finances doing? Does Governor Newsom's recent order requiring employees to return to work be a benefit?
I think it will be. I think BART and a lot of our transit agencies are still struggling. You know, I serve on the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and so I hear about these matters pretty often. And I know our transit agencies are struggling, some more so than others. And those who aren't struggling, it might not be because of the present situation. It might be because they've been better at preparing for the possibility of certain challenges coming up, but it doesn't mean they won't be struggling in the future. So the order to come back to work, I think is a good order. I think it needs to be balanced, though, with allowing people to work remotely a couple of days a week, but come to work in person and physically a few days a week as well. I think a balance of maybe 3 days in, 2 days remote, I think that's a good sort of balance if that can be achieved based on the nature of your job, assignment, and position. So I do think having people come back to work should be something that would help BART ridership as well as help the economy, both locally and in the Bay Area.
Have some of the safety issues in riding been attended to lately?
I know BART's working on that, with cameras and BART ambassadors and officers, law enforcement officers, and also trying to put more controls at the gates, the entrance gates to BART. I know they're working to try to shore up safety. I don't know if they've quite gotten it as well as they'd like it to be, but I know they're moving in that direction. But I still hear of issues and concerns on BART. I don't know if these issues and concerns are something that are, that we should be overly concerned about. But I do believe BART still needs more to do to ensure the public and to improve public confidence around safety on BART.
Well, my good friend Colonel John McPartland has retired, but by gosh, we've got a young woman who used to be Mayor Melissa Hernandez on there now, and I'm very confident that you'll be impressed by her work.
I know Melissa well. She's a friend. We are mutual admirers of one another and supporters, and I'm very pleased and delighted and joyful that she is our BART director.
Me too. I wish I had her energy.
Yes.
Well, thank you for being with us today. I'm Dr. Marshall Kamina. Join us for the next episode of Supervisors Report with Nate Miley right here on Tri-Valley TV. Thank you all for watching.